Welcome to True Crime Deep Dive, the YouTube channel dedicated to exploring the lesser-known stories of injustice. No team, no flashy production, just a passion for uncovering the truth. I've always been fascinated by true crime, but not the cases that everyone else is talking about. I'm not interested in covering cases that are already trending or have been heavily covered by the media. Instead, I want to shed light on the forgotten cases, the ones that never made headlines or have been swept under the rug. You see, I believe that every victim deserves justice, regardless of whether their story has captured public attention or not. And that's why I'm here, to give a voice to those who have been silenced and to bring attention to cases that have been overlooked. But it's not just about the crime itself. I'm also passionate about standing against injustice. I firmly believe that the criminal justice system is flawed and biased, and it's our duty as citizens to question it and demand change. Through my deep dives into these cases, I hope to bring awareness to issues of injustice and spark important conversations. Another important aspect of my channel is breaking harmful stereotypes and stigma, particularly those surrounding drug addiction. Too often, those struggling with addiction are portrayed as villains or criminals, when in reality, they are victims of a broken system and often have their own stories of trauma and struggles. I want to humanize and bring empathy to those affected by addiction and show that they are more than just their struggles. So if you're ready to go beyond the surface and dive deep into the world of true crime, then you've come to the right place. Join me as we uncover the truth, seek justice, and challenge harmful narratives. This is True Crime Deep Dive. Let's get started. There's a saying, justice delayed is justice denied. In a world where the scales of justice are often tipped in favor of the powerful, the pristine gavel of a judge can symbolize both hope and despair. In the heart of the justice system, the judge's gavel begins its life untouched, unblemished. It stands as an emblem of fairness, a beacon of truth, and a guardian of the innocent. But as it navigates the complex labyrinth of human stories, the gavel starts to bear the brunt of the system's imperfections. Like a silent witness, it observes the wrongful convictions that shatter lives. It echoes the cries of the innocent, who find themselves ensnared in the web of prejudice and bias. It grieves for the broken promises that tarnish the sanctity of the courtroom, and for the voices that are silenced by the thundering verdicts. Yet, amid the cracks and flaws, the gavel persists. It carries the weight of its duty with unwavering resolve, never ceasing in its pursuit of justice. It's a constant reminder that, despite the challenges, the fight for justice can never be abandoned. In the face of adversity, the gavel strikes back, demanding a system that works for everyone. It rallies against the injustices, it champions the cause of the marginalized, and it amplifies the whispers of change into a resounding call for action. The gavel, in all its cracked and chipped glory, stands as a symbol of resilience. It reminds us that even in the face of harsh realities, the pursuit of justice must go on. It's a testament to the fact that despite the obstacles, the quest for a fair and just world is a fight worth fighting. As we delve deeper into the realm of true crime, let the gavel's journey serve as a reminder that the pursuit of justice is a collective endeavor, one that demands our unwavering commitment and relentless dedication. As we wrap up, ponder on these questions. How do we ensure that the gavel remains a symbol of justice and not of its failings? How can we contribute to a system that works for everyone? And finally, how can we make sure that the voice of the gavel is not drowned out by the noise of injustice? Remember, every crack in the gavel is a story that demands to be heard, a story that calls for change. This
Ever pondered why society tends to view drug addiction with such disdain? It's a question that lingers in the air, heavy with the weight of unspoken prejudice and misunderstanding. Drug addiction, a condition often shrouded in shame and judgment, is a battle fought not only against the physical addiction but also against an unseen enemy: stigma. Stigma in this context is the set of negative beliefs that society often associates with drug addiction. It's an invisible foe, one that's often more detrimental than the addiction itself. This unseen enemy fosters an environment of discrimination, isolation, and often discourages those struggling from seeking the help they so desperately need. When we talk about drug addiction, we often focus on the physical and psychological toll it takes on the individual, yet we frequently overlook the social implications that come from the stigmatizing attitudes held by society. This stigma is pervasive, deeply rooted in societal norms and attitudes, and is often perpetuated unconsciously, making it all the more insidious. The consequences of this stigma are far-reaching and severe. It breeds discrimination and isolation, pushing individuals struggling with addiction further into the shadows, often preventing them from seeking help. It creates a barrier, a wall of judgment and misunderstanding that stands between those struggling with addiction and the support they so desperately need. Moreover, the stigma surrounding drug addiction not only impacts those battling the addiction, but also their loved ones. Families and friends are often subjected to the same judgment and discrimination, further exacerbating the isolation and despair experienced by those directly affected. It's a vicious cycle, one that perpetuates the suffering of those struggling with addiction and their loved ones. It's a cycle that we as a society have the power and responsibility to break. It is clear that the stigma surrounding drug addiction is a formidable adversary that we must address. We need to challenge the harmful stereotypes, dispel the misinformation, and foster a culture of empathy and understanding. Only then can we truly begin to combat this unseen enemy and support those affected by drug addiction. Words have power. They can either heal or harm. This isn't just a catchy phrase, it's a fundamental truth that underpins our social interactions. When we look at the world of addiction, the power of words is amplified, and their impact can be felt in the hearts of those struggling with addiction. Consider the statement, "All drug addicts should be euthanized." It's a harsh phrase, isn't it? A stark judgment passed without understanding or empathy. But what does such a statement do to an individual battling addiction? It reinforces feelings of shame and guilt. It whispers to them that they are less than, that they are unworthy, unlovable, and unwanted. It tells them that their struggles are not only their own fault, but that they are a burden, a problem to be eradicated rather than a human being in need of help. These words, carelessly thrown, can amplify feelings of worthlessness, compounding the pain of addiction with the sting of societal rejection. They create a hostile environment where individuals struggling with addiction are not only battling their inner demons, but also an unforgiving world that seems to be against them. Such words can also prevent individuals from seeking help. Why would anyone step forward to ask for assistance when they fear judgment, rejection, or worse? The fear of being stigmatized can be a powerful deterrent, holding back individuals from reaching out for the help they so desperately need. The impact of these words extends beyond the individual. It seeps into our communities, perpetuating harmful stereotypes and fostering an environment where stigma thrives and empathy wanes. It creates a divide, a them and us mentality, which only serves to isolate those struggling even further. It is crucial to understand the power of our words and the harm they can cause when used carelessly. Words can wound, but they can also heal. They can bridge divides, foster understanding, and promote empathy. The choice is ours. What we say matters. So let's choose our words carefully, with kindness and understanding, because they have the power to change lives, for better or worse. Did you know that stigma can set off a domino effect of negative consequences? Now let's delve deeper into this domino effect of stigma. Stigma, like a domino once set in motion, triggers a chain reaction of negative impacts. It starts with social isolation. When individuals battling addiction are stigmatized, they are often isolated from society, treated as outcasts, and shunned by their communities. This isolation can be emotionally devastating and can exacerbate feelings of hopelessness and despair. Then comes the next domino, self-stigmatization. The societal stigma can become internalized, and individuals may start to believe the harmful stereotypes and negative perceptions about themselves. They may view themselves as failures or undeserving of help and compassion. This self-stigmatization can lead to decreased self-esteem and self-worth, further complicating the recovery process. The final, and perhaps the most detrimental domino, is the barrier to recovery. The fear of judgment and discrimination can deter individuals from seeking help and support. They may avoid treatment services due to the fear of being labeled or shamed. This can delay their recovery, and in some cases, prevent it entirely. But let's remember, the domino effect doesn't need to be inevitable. We can stop it. And the first step is recognizing the importance of seeking help. Seeking help is not a sign of weakness, but a courageous step towards recovery. It's a vital step that can be hindered by stigma. So let's not let stigma stand in the way. Let's not let it set off a chain of dominoes leading to isolation, self-stigmatization, and barriers to recovery. Let's challenge the stigma, let's show empathy and understanding, and let's support those brave enough to seek help. Stigma, therefore, is not just a social issue, but a significant barrier to recovery and healing. Let's remember this as we continue our journey towards understanding and challenging the stigma surrounding addiction. If stigma is the problem, how can we be part of the solution? This question is pivotal as we delve into the heart of the matter, challenging and combating stigma. Stigma, like any other societal ill, is not invincible. We can counter it, and the first step in this journey is raising awareness. Awareness campaigns can be powerful tools, transforming silence into dialogue and ignorance into understanding. It's about bringing the invisible into light, about making it clear that addiction is not a moral failing, but a health issue that needs care and support. Next, we have education. It's important to understand that addiction is not a choice. It's a complex interplay of genetics, environment, and personal circumstances. By educating ourselves and others about the realities of addiction, we can dispel harmful myths and misconceptions that fuel stigma. Promoting empathy and understanding is another crucial aspect. Empathy is the antidote to stigma. It allows us to see the person behind the addiction, to recognize their humanity, their struggles, their hopes, and their dreams. It's about realizing that they too, like us, are deserving of respect, compassion, and a chance for a better life. In this endeavor, the role of advocates cannot be understated. They are the torchbearers in this journey towards a stigma-free society. Advocates are the ones who stand up against harmful narratives, who amplify the voices of those silenced by stigma, who relentlessly work towards creating an environment where everyone is treated with dignity and respect. This process of challenging stigma is not a one-time event, but a continuous, persistent effort. It's about every single one of us taking a stand, in our own unique ways, to foster a culture of acceptance and compassion. But remember, it's not just about changing attitudes. It's about transforming our societies, our institutions, our policies, and most importantly, our hearts. Challenging stigma is not just about changing attitudes, but about fostering a culture of acceptance and compassion. We have the power to make a difference, but how do we start? Begin with a simple act, one of understanding. It's time to dismantle the misconceptions that shroud drug addiction. It's not about moral failing or lack of willpower, but rather a complex disease that affects the brain and behavior. Educate yourself about the realities of addiction and share this knowledge with those around you. Information is a powerful tool in our fight against stigma. We must also stand up against harmful remarks. You've probably heard them before, those dangerous statements that dehumanize people struggling with addiction. These words, they're not just hurtful, they're destructive. When you hear such talk, don't stay silent. Speak out. Challenge these notions. Remind others of the humanity of those battling addiction and encourage empathy over judgment. But our efforts shouldn't stop there. Reach out to those affected by addiction. Let them know they're not alone in this fight. Offer your support, lend an ear, or simply extend a hand of friendship. It's these small acts of kindness that can make a world of difference. And remember, the fight against stigma isn't just a one-time thing, it's a commitment to foster a culture of acceptance, to promote compassion, and to continually challenge harmful attitudes. So, are you ready to be a part of this movement? To stand up against dangerous statements and strive for a world where everyone is treated with dignity and respect? Join us. Subscribe now and be a part of the change. Let's challenge the stigma surrounding drug addiction. Let's foster a society that supports, understands, and respects those affected by addiction. Remember, every action counts, no matter how small. Together we can challenge stigma and create a more supportive environment for those affected by addiction.
True crime. Few mysteries have captured the public's imagination like the smiley face killer theory. Across America, young men have vanished under eerily similar circumstances. In the annals of true crime, few mysteries have captured the public's imagination like the smiley face killer theory. Across America, young men have vanished under eerily similar circumstances, only to be found drowned in bodies of water, their final moments shrouded in mystery. From the bustling streets of Boston to the quiet rivers of Pittsburgh, the smiley face killer theory has left a trail of unanswered questions and shattered lives in its wake. In this comprehensive investigation, we delve into the chilling accounts of these tragedies, exploring the eerie connections and haunting mysteries that have gripped the nation. The phenomenon began innocuously enough: a young man bids farewell to friends after a night of celebration, only to disappear without a trace. Patrick Kennedy in Buckley, Brian Wells in Mankato, Joshua Smith in Boston, each case bore haunting similarities. Despite extensive search efforts, their bodies were discovered weeks later, submerged in nearby rivers, their once vibrant lives extinguished in the murky depths. As investigators grappled with the unsettling similarities, the smiley face killer theory began to take shape: a shadowy figure lurking in the darkness, preying on unsuspecting. Enter Kevin Gannon, Anthony Duarte, and Lee Gilbertson, the trio who dared to challenge the status quo. Former detectives and a seasoned criminal profiler, they refused to accept the narrative of mere accidents. With dogged determination, they embarked on a journey into the heart of darkness, determined to uncover the truth behind the grim pattern of drownings plaguing America's cities. From the bustling streets of Pittsburgh to the quiet rivers of Wisconsin, Gannon, Duarte, and Gilbertson followed the trail of tragedy, piecing together clues and unraveling mysteries that had long remained hidden in the shadows. Amidst the growing list of tragedies, the city of Pittsburgh emerged as a focal point of intrigue. Dakota James, Paul Kochu, Corey Ankam, each name added another layer to the mystery. Their disappearances rocked the community and left investigators scrambling for answers. Despite extensive search efforts, some bodies were never found, leaving loved ones grappling with the uncertainty of their fate. Yet, the chilling similarities in their cases only deepened the mystery surrounding the elusive smiley face killer. As the list of tragic cases grew longer, investigators struggled to make sense of the seemingly random and senseless deaths. From Washington to Wisconsin, Minnesota to Massachusetts, a pattern began to emerge, a pattern that defied coincidence and begged for further investigation. The discovery of smiley face graffiti near some of the crime scenes only added to the intrigue, fueling speculation about the existence of a coordinated serial killer or killers at work. The smiley face killer theory stands as a chilling reminder of the dangers lurking in the shadows and the enduring quest for justice in the face of tragedy. In the early hours of a chilly November night, Patrick Kennedy, A 21-year-old college student bid farewell to his friends after a night of celebration. Little did they know it would be the last time they would see him alive. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, with no sign of Patrick. Then, a grim discovery of body matching his description was found floating in a nearby river, his fate sealed by the unforgiving currents. As investigators combed through the evidence, they found no clear answers, only haunting questions that lingered in the shadows. Brian Wells was a promising young athlete with a bright future ahead of him, but one fateful night, his life took a dark turn. After a night of partying with friends, Brian vanished without a trace. Weeks later, his lifeless body was discovered in a river, his once vibrant spirit extinguished by the cold embrace of the water. Like so many others before him, Brian's death left more questions than answers, a puzzle with missing pieces that seemed destined to remain unsolved. Joshua Smith was a popular college student with a wide circle of friends and a promising future, but on a night like any other, he disappeared without a trace, leaving his loved ones reeling with shock and disbelief. Despite exhaustive search efforts, Joshua's fate remained unknown until his body was discovered weeks later, floating in a nearby river. The circumstances surrounding his death bore a chilling resemblance to those of other young men who had met a similar fate, fueling speculation and suspicion among investigators and the public alike. Michael Thompson was a bright young man with a passion for adventure and a thirst for life. But when he failed to return home one fateful night, his loved ones were plunged into a nightmare of uncertainty and dread. Days turned into weeks, and still, there was no sign of Michael. Then, a grim discovery of body matching his description was found submerged in a nearby river, his once vibrant smile now frozen in eternal repose. As investigators delved into the circumstances surrounding his death, they uncovered eerie parallels to other cases, raising troubling questions about the existence of a sinister force at work. David Harris was a beloved member of his community, known for his infectious smile and generous spirit, but when he failed to return home after a night out with friends, his loved ones feared the worst. Their worst fears were realized when David's body was discovered days later, washed ashore in a remote riverbank. The circumstances surrounding his death bore a striking resemblance to those of other young men who had met a similar fate, igniting speculation and suspicion among those left behind. As the investigation unfolded, the chilling reality of David's final hours began to take shape, painting a picture of darkness and despair that seemed to lurk just beneath the surface of everyday life.
Okay, you guys. So I've been down another rabbit hole, maybe two, probably two, and so I'm just gonna dive right in. So I was kind of like after the last live stream where we were kind of watching JLR's search videos for Riley, like just kind of with a different, not necessarily like a different lens, but just with the information we have now that we didn't have then, we look at things differently, interpret things differently, and ultimately see things differently, or see things that we didn't see before, because it's human nature to overlook things. And a lot of things I wrote down that I didn't like, either I completely missed the first time I had watched the video, or things that I interpreted differently, or just things that like stood out to me, like that made me take pause. So I wrote all those things down, and then I just kind of started one by one, like trying to go about a way to go back and see if there was any layers to it, like certain things that some of the homeless people, certain comments that they made to JLR, and like the way that they said it and the words they just like they chose to use, like dragging from one encampment to the other, like just little things that were like, knowing what we know now, just kind of make it seem a little bizarre. Like think it was Ariel. Correct me if I'm wrong, because most of you guys were there. I know Cricket Day was, but she put in the chat last live stream, and it's definitely up there, like up top, written down on my thing, that is like aha moment. The whole Riley not having pants and shoe, or his pants, boots, and wallet, phone all being removed, and there's been a big debate on if the current could do that, if it could have been natural causes, if he could have got, clothing could have got stugged or teared and whatever. So she made a good point. she being Ariel, there was another body found. Still don't know who. I know male, maybe Hispanic, early 30s, but the moral of the story, the body was found the same day Riley's debit card was found, which was March the 17th. In the early morning hours, I think like 10 something in the morning, but it had been in the body had been in the water based off of the decomposition state it was in, based on what LE says. He'd been in the water for quite some time, and quite some time before Riley. And guess what he had on? His clothes. He had his shirt, his undershirt, his pants, his shoes, a watch, necklace, and I believe even, yeah, that's it. That was it. But yeah, because he had a watch and a necklace. All of that's still intact. He was in the water longer. So if the current is that wicked, wouldn't he be stripped down to his undergarments, I guess you could say? Like, and it makes you take pause and say, okay, well, how does that happen to one and not the other? I mean, how different can it really be based off of where they got put in the water? I mean, I'm not saying that it's impossible. I'm just saying, come on, you guys. Are you buying it? How? Because I am not. And what's the deal with all the damn, excuse my language, already dropping? Well, I mean, it wasn't an F bomb, so it's not that bad, but it blows my mind that I, as far away as I am from the dang state and all the bizarreness, like, it makes me take pause. And the people that live there, or much less live there, like, are in charge of the safety there. How do you feel um good about not doing? How are you not concerned? Like, that many bodies in a body of water, granted, I get the river's long and all the different canals and what, that's still a lot of people that are just, how long does it take before your excuse for, oh, it was just natural causes, however, whatever that can be, I will humor you and say that, how many people got to die before you get off your ass and put it up where they can't accidentally fall into the river? Then what happens once there's barriers put up and they're still ending up in the water? Are you going to actually deal with the problem then? Or are we still going to keep with this BS that we're supposed to believe that there's no foul play suspected? Well, like, that is beyond lazy police work. I mean, come on, I guess I'll just be the one to say it. Like, it can't just be that many times. And if it is, then maybe that's what we need to advocate for. You can't, that's not acceptable way to protect your community. And it's real obvious what's going on when you look into it, because it's not that they're incapable of doing their jobs, because in some cases, in certain scenarios, they do really good job. But it seems like if it has anything to do with this tourist trap, which is Broadway, and it's a moneymaker and it's a hot spot for college kids and really anybody looking for a good time, and a good time to get beep up, it's just a common thing. Google it and you'll see, like, it'll give you all these recommendations for bars and restaurants. And I mean, it's known to go, you're not get tore up from the floor up. And which is great, awesome, really not trying to say that those shouldn't exist, because I get it. However, you should make sure that if you're going to do that and you're going to have a bunch of people coming there and attracting them there, then you have responsibility to make sure they're safe when they're there, especially knowing that they're going to be vulnerable anyways because they're going to be drunk. I mean, why do you not just by standard have it? I mean, if you have kids, toddlers, you guys know, or grandkids, you gotta, it's not fun and it's not the best thing in the world, but you gotta baby proof everything. You gotta have the cabinets. I mean, sometimes the shit is so baby proof you can't even get into it, but at the end of the day, the baby can't get into it, so we're all right. So why are we not doing the same thing for a place that we know is designed and you know created to attract these college kids and everybody else in between? And oh, come have fun here, get drunk here. We have everything that you'd ever want to do, and so much fun. But yeah, but are you doing it to where it's safe. Because I would beg to differ. And I'm not trying to scare anybody, but maybe that's what it's going to take, is scaring the shit out of some parents so that your kids can be well prepared if they're going to go party. They should be so prepared. They should know better than to ever leave any of their friends behind. I'm just going to say it. I I hope they do feel like crap, because that was a crappy thing to do. It would be a crappy thing to do even if the kid made it home okay and just had a really bad hangover story. That would still be a shitty thing to do. But it's really shitty when the circumstances are what they have been recently. And I'm not even talking about Riley. This is not the first time. This is not a one and done. This is not a single isolated incident. This happens all the time, all over the United States. And it happens the same way. They're in a group of people, friends, sometimes even family, and somehow they just get separated. And it's okay for this set allotted amount of time because the group is continuing to party. And then either by the time they realize the person's missing, it's been hours, or they're more concerned with, doing their own thing. But it just seems like if we could start there with doing our due diligence to make sure everybody is accounted for, and that we're not just being so shitty that we don't know who's what and where's. I mean, if you're going to do that, then I please just suggest staying at home or partying at a buddy's house and staying there. I mean, everybody can say what they want to, but ain't nothing better than a dang backwoods bonfire. You don't have to worry about driving or being mugged or being, and I'm not encouraging people from going out into bars. However, if I was going to give my recommendation, I would absolutely advocate for, okay, let's pick up whose house or somebody, and party here, and everybody sleeps here, and then everybody goes home tomorrow, and at the end of the day everybody will go home. Accidents can happen that way too, but the likelihood of that are so much less probable. What I would absolutely be willing to take those odds any day to any casino. Not that I'm a gambler, but I know enough to understand the reference. It's I wouldn't go there myself, much less, let my kid go there, but I have also learned the darker sides of society way before I should have, and I know that people are just as much as that, just as probable as you could go up to meet somebody that has the best of interests and is just a genuinely good person. You have that equal opportunity to have someone that does not have your best interests at heart and are going to prey on you if they see any kind of weakness or vulnerability, like slurring your words, or that you're all, that's just the society we live in. There's no need to tiptoe around it and sugarcoat it. We live in a sick world full of opportunist people that are looking for the opportunity to get over on you and whatever they have to gain from doing so, whether that be your identity, your money, your jewel. I mean, anything that is of value is up for grabs. And however you respond to that is depending on whether or not you're just somebody that ends up with your stuff stolen, or if you end up in the river. That's the synopsis I've drawn. It seems like the ones that fought or were resistant um, were the ones that were beat and, left with no memory or didn't live to talk about it. But it starts out in these bars where they watch you and they watch how much you drink. They watch you pull your wallet out of your pocket to see what pocket you pulled it out of. They watch to see how you're paying for the drinks, if you have a tab, if you're paying per go, if you're using plastic or paper. Then they'll even go as far as waiting for you to use your phone and then seeing which pocket you put it in, seeing if you have Face ID on your iPhone for the lock, or seeing if you use a code. Sometimes they even peep what your code is, because you're on top of each other in those bars. It's packed in there, elbow to elbow. Most of the time they bump up against you and have your phone and wallet out of your front pocket before you even realize that the only thing you felt was them bumping into your shoulder. Like, they've mastered this crap to a science. And most people don't even know their stuff is gone until they go to, like, pay for their drink or use their phone. Could be 5 minutes later, could be an hour later, it could be at the end of the night when they leave. And then by then it's like, what do you do? Well, most people go to the bar owner or the manager. Hey, can we pull footage? And you get all kind of resistance. Like almost like it's like they're out working for the other team or something, because wouldn't you want if something was being alleged or accused of happening in your bar, wouldn't you as a responsible liquor license owner want to make sure that it's being done responsibly and people are not being taken advantage of in your establishment that serves, alcohol by this shot? Because those rules and regulations, I've been deep in that rabbit hole too. Like I thought we had strict terms and conditions. Holy crap. And that is not something you want to have like under the microscope, because once you lose it, there's no list of like, oh yeah, you can get it back and take a class and now we're good. Like, no, 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 you're just done. Or you can, apparently be really, really shady and go sell it all or put it all in a family member's name, and then you're good. I mean, I wouldn't recommend it, but apparently anything is possible on Broadway if you have enough money. You don't have to pay your taxes, apparently. Just all these rules and laws and seemingly like regulations apply to everybody else, but not these people that, have no reason to even be sitting at this type of table of elite, this class. I mean, 5 years ago they were freaking filing for bankruptcy, but now they're billionaires because I can't figure it out. I don't know how, why. I don't know why the celebrities are like have attached themselves to this entity, because it's been shady like on the books as long as they've been around. They've only been TC Music, whatever it's called. It's only been that LLC since like 2016, but they've just kind of hopped from one scam to the next, because that's what it is, a scam. When you open businesses and make a bunch of money and don't pay the government, don't pay your taxes, and then you try to hide your assets so that the government can't seize them because you're not paying your taxes. And then on top of that, you are stealing the money from the people that are paying for the contractors to pay for your own personal expenses and still not paying for your taxes. Oh my Lanta. That's the kind of stuff we're dealing with here, folks. Like I'm not even joking. And that was back in the 90s, like before I was even born. They just escalated to, more zeros in their business deals the further on they go. But ultimately, they've only done, between the two of them, maybe combined a year in federal prison, and they both got early release, both of them, because they're twin brothers. But they pled guilty to the last tax incident they had, so they're convicted felons. Can't have business or liquor licenses, but you can always just put it all in your son-in-law's name, and then you're just good. Operate as business as usual. Mm, well, yeah, they are, and I don't know why, Bia, because they don't hold any status. I don't know how they have these connections to get these celebrity endorsements or whatever you would call it, or partnerships. They have a very, very, very easily Googleable um, track record of bad business. I mean, very, very bad business, shady business deals, run-ins with the law, the IRS, just everything that you don't want in a business partner, in my opinion. But hey, what do I know? Maybe I need to learn a thing or two about business. Because that would make me run for the hills. Yeah. Who runs the city? You mean the mayor? Oh, you're saying I got you. I was like, I don't know his name, but I can find out. Oh, that is right. Okay, so before we get started on this rabbit hole, I kind of want to show you guys why I get so perturbed with police work that is just, in my opinion, pathetic and unacceptable. It's mostly because of where I live and the jurisdiction that I fall into. And I can show you better than I can tell you, but I have to like step outside of my own element and realize, oh my God, the rest of the world is not like this. Like, holy crap. It's like the Wild Wild West over here. And holy crap, this is only, whoa, what the heck is happening here? What the Mississippi is this backwood anyway? It is like a completely different universe, like different dimension in comparison to like what is acceptable and what is considered a good sheriff and a acceptable effort. So I'm not willing to settle for all of this. No foul play, no foul play. It leaves a bad taste in my mouth. I don't like it. And I don't like it at all. Need to fix it. Don't like it. See, it just tastes gross. Stop it. I don't like it. Do better. Stop being lazy. If it's because you're depleted resources and undermanned or whatever the case, ask for help. It's not that hard, but people can't just come in and inject themselves in investigations without being requested. So put your pride to the side, put your ego over there on top shelf on the other side, and ask for help and quit being a thank you so much. It's not that hard. I mean, it's disgusting. So I'm going to introduce you guys to Grady Judd, my sheriff, our sheriff, me and cousins, and this is just, you'll see.
But we have received information in social media that some of the criminals were going to take their criminal conduct into the neighborhoods. I would tell them, if you value your life, you probably shouldn't do that in Polk County, because the people of Polk County like guns. They have guns. I encourage them to own guns, and they're going to be in their homes tonight with their guns loaded. And if you try to break into their homes to steal, to set fires, I'm highly recommending they blow you back out of the house with their guns.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh no, I'm not. And that is you heard him.
Did you hear what I said? Did you hear me? Did you hear me? Did you hear what I said? I want you to understand what deviants these people really are. You know, I had a wish you were here vacation. It was at the county jail. This is a peaceful protest. This is a riot. This is a picture of Christopher. It's a very nice picture in his state prison outfit. You see, if you loot, the next thing you can try to steal is something off of your food tray at the county jail. This is not only a bad turkey, he's a bad man. The southern gentleman who's now a battery suspect who is. Some people are slow learners. This is peaceful protest. This is violence. Charged him with 408 counts of child pornography. Did you hear me? Did you hear me? So she offers this truck for sale for $200 and says the owner of it's not going to need it any longer because they've been murdered. Did you hear what I said? Did you hear me? Did you hear me? He was purchasing soiled underwear. Did you hear me? Did you hear what I said? Sometimes you think you're passing gas and you're not. You can't trust a fart when you're over 60. I know this. Jesus ain't happy. I can tell you Helen Keller could have seen all the evidence they left at the scene. Huh, guys? It really is a small world after all. This ain't California. It was evident this morning he might have had 5 brain cells. 3 of them weren't working. Were your 3 brain cells in overload? But I want to talk to you today about a turkey that's a bad turkey. I think he's thinking, I don't want to go back to prison. But we're thinking you should.
Leaving the Channel 8 morning show? What were you thinking?
Can you believe that? I expected her to at least say, well, the devil made me do it. But I want to introduce to you a thug, a pedigreed thug. You know, we were born in the morning, but it wasn't yesterday. And the reason we didn't arrest Eric is because he's dead. We thought it'd be a waste of time just between you and me. And here's our promise. We'll open the door for you at the county jail. The men and women of law enforcement that write you a ticket today will stand in front of a bullet for you tonight. So you were racing and you hit a wall, and it was called the Polk County Sheriff's Office. Come on, man. What's wrong with you? Come on, man. What are you thinking? Had that guy, that police officer up there, done that here, I'd have had him in jail by sundown. And one holds the door open for the other because that's what we do in Polk County. Well, isn't that special? I'm not going to answer that question. Do you have any other questions you want me to not answer? Thank you. God bless you. See you later.
Out to Polk County, Florida. And that is where we had Sheriff Grady Judd coming to
Haven Fire Red, Hayden Parchment, and Salea Freedom, Sarah Batchelder. In addition to that, this operation was on the west side of the county in the city of Lakeland, and we were assisted by several police departments. A special thanks goes to the Lakeland Police Department. We have Assistant Chief Pacheco here with us today. They donated a lot of resources for us this time, and it's really appreciative. And the support by all of these police departments was over the top. Kansas City Police Department's represented today by Detective Dominez Davenport. Chief Steve Parker's with us. We also have the Auburndale Police Department with us. Detective Kevin Seymour, Lake Hamilton Chief Mike Teague, and the Winter Haven Fire Rescue was with us, Hunter Hart. And that wasn't just if things got real hot, they'd put the fire out, but I imagine they would have if it had have happened. But it's important to point out that in this county, we don't operate in silos as separate law enforcement agencies. We're all friends. We all respect and love each other, and we all work together. And you're going to see the outcome when you have great police agencies work with you. I'm going to give you a lot of information quickly, and then the reporters can narrow in on whatever they're interested in. 228 arrests, 66 prostitutes, 50 Johns, and 12 others. This time we identified 13 potential victims of human trafficking. But I want to make this statement today. In 1 year, we have identified 58 potential victims of human trafficking in 1 year with these operations. What's significant about that? That is the most ever we've been able to identify. And why were we able to identify this many potential victims of human trafficking? Because of these ladies that's standing with us. We do something that most police agencies run from if they do these kinds of operations at all. We embed our counselors with us from the absolute very beginning of the operation, even before.
They are every bit as important to our investigation as our detectives that go undercover and in many times risk their lives. So I want to once again thank our social service organizations for joining us from the beginning. 42 of the 228 that we arrested were from Polk County. Now, those of you from Polk County know better. We talk about this, we don't hide it, and if you don't know about it, you obviously live under a rock. So you had to learn the hard way. But for the rest of you, pay attention, because this is not the last operation. We'll have more, and we'll give you the opportunity to be arrested if you're stupid enough to show up. That's a guarantee. In addition to that, 42 of these folks were married. And I've got some quotes from wives that I'll give you in a little bit. And some people say, well, this is not a big deal, but at the end of this operation, I'm going to talk about the 21 illegal aliens we arrested in much more detail. Criminal charges. Oh, it's a low-level misdemeanor, and these aren't violent people. These people had a previous history of 2,038 arrests. Did you hear what I said? These people are criminals in their own right, most of them, not all of them. 879 previous felonies, 1,159 previous misdemeanors. We dealt with 17 firearms this time by 15 different suspects. 44 people brought narcotics. 12 people came and had outstanding warrants. We appreciate that. They came to us. We didn't have to chase them down. One was a commercial pilot. We had a branch of the military and teachers, and I'm going to talk specifically about those in a minute. But the comments. One wife sent the detective a message the next day. She said, "Good one, guys. Thank you for helping me in my marriage. Keep doing what you're doing." One John said he worked overtime today and he just needed to blow off some steam. Well, we gave him a chance to also cool his heels in the county jail. Another one said, well, I came here because, I'm going to be incapacitated for 10 days. I got to turn myself in Monday at the county jail for 10 days. The judge sentenced me to previously. Wait, you don't have to turn yourself in. We're going to give you a ride and some additional criminal charges to go through it. One John who was married said, well, sometimes you just need to see something different. Well, he did. He saw a different woman, but she was undercover. Then he got to see the jail. I would hate to see what it's like at his house when his wife, who's obviously going to watch this, finds out that he just needed to see something different. And then there was a John that was married for 26 years. He said his wife was at the Hard Rock Casino. And he was at, y'all thought I was going to say something, but I'm not. But it didn't turn out to be the Hard Rock Casino. It did turn out to be the Rock, known as Grady Town, or the county jail. One John was married. He said he came here to play golf. Well, I got to tell you, I've heard it called a lot of stuff, but never playing golf. And there was no hole in one. One John said he left his wife and 5 children at home. One prostitute said she'd only been here 2 days. She was here from New York to make money. And instead she came to New York on vacation, and she's going to leave here on probation. But let's talk about specific people real quickly as I go through this. First we'll start with our athletes. This is Edwin Madrino. He's 54. He's from New York City, New York. He's self-employed, according to him, as a volleyball tutor. He used to be a coach at Monroe Junior College in New York.
gun. And you say that because of a belt, he should have still had his pants on. Can you explain why you're attaching so much significance to the fact that you say he was wearing a belt?
Yeah, the belt, Riley had a swimmer's body, and I loved him for that. He was actually an excellent swimmer. And his hips, with the belt being on his hips, that would have been even more hard for the pants to come off in the water. It literally would have been snug to him. It would have been riding on his hips. Everybody we've talked to about that, as soon as we found out he had a belt on that night, was like, wow, that totally changes the dynamics of why those articles are missing. His boots, they're a size 15 boot. Anytime any shoes or tennis shoes get wet, you know how hard it is just to get a tennis shoe off, let alone a size 15 boot. So the belt is a big piece of the puzzle that we now have, and but once again raises more questions.
College and then come home in a hearse. The family, imagine seeing your child drive off to college and then come home in a hearse. The family of Riley Strain doesn't have to imagine that awful scenario. They've experienced it. And tonight they have more details and more questions about the death of 22-year-old Missouri college student Riley Strain. Was it really an accident, as police say? Well, tonight the focus is on one key accessory that Riley was apparently wearing the night he disappeared from downtown Nashville, a belt. New information from the Strain family points to a possibility of a more sinister ending to the young man's life than the initial autopsy suggested. The Nashville Police Department has determined there were no signs of foul play. Riley's body was pulled from the Cumberland River 2 weeks after he vanished, about 8 miles away after a night out with friends. He allegedly left a local bar by himself. There is security footage of him walking off, but in the wrong direction, in the opposite direction of his hotel. Riley was found in the river without his pants, his wallet, or his cowboy boots that he was wearing the night he went missing. And despite a massive, intensive search of the area, those items of clothing have never turned up. The family says Riley was also wearing a belt the night he disappeared. Joining us now is Strain family friend Chris Dingman. Chris, great to have you back on the show. It's the first time I've had you on the show since Riley's funeral. I just first want to ask, how are Michelle and Chris and the rest of his family doing?
You know, I got to visit with them today. They came over to the office for a little bit, and we got to catch up and, you know, just talk about life, being home. Michelle was able to talk just a little bit and then instantly, you know, went into memories and missing her son. So it's still very, very brutal on the family right now. We're in the stage right now to where we want answers.
Yep.
We were able and blessed to bring Riley home and, you know, to bury him properly. But now the war room is totally turned into getting answers, because people know there's some answers out there that we need to have.
What are those answers that you need, and how are they related to this belt that he was apparently wearing that night that his parents say he wore every day?
Yeah, there's still some people of interest. We noticed that News Nation actually reached out Friday to the Metro Nashville Police Department, following up on the investigation, seeing if there was any new information, and was told abruptly that there was no investigation. They were waiting for toxicology. So unlike more like what we have found this entire time of doing this, trying to find Riley, is we're going to have to find our information via the internet, via TikTok, via incredible reporters like you guys chasing down leads, because I strongly feel that we're not going to get any support from Metro Nashville. Our two strongest leads that we have received has been from the internet, not from the police, stuff that was given to the police. So,
and what are those leads?
The leads were like right there with the body cam. You know, we had people that had found the debit card shortly following that. The couple that actually come forward from listening to a podcast that was in the last video that he was seen by the construction barricade. You know, there's so little, but when you're watching the film that you're showing right now with the police cam, when it spins around, there's actually there's some people that's farther down the way that looks like they're sitting outside their vehicle.
But what is
I've said
hey,
this from,
hey, Chris, what's the significance of the belt? Because listen, you know, a lot of people don't realize that when something happens to a person, whether, for example, they're hit by a car, they're often knocked out of their shoes, out of their clothes. People don't understand that that actually happens. Same thing happens
Yes.
when a person falls into a river. Items of clothing can be ripped off by the current, by the force of the fall. He still had his shirt on. And you say that because of a belt, he should have still had his pants on. Can you explain why you're attaching so much significance to the fact that you say he was wearing a belt?
Yeah, the belt. Riley had a swimmer's body, and I loved him for that. He was actually an excellent swimmer, and his hips, with the belt being on his hips, that would have been even more hard for the pants to come off in the water. It literally would have been snug to him. It would have been riding on his hips. Everybody we talked to about that, as soon as we found out he had a belt on that night, was like, wow, that totally changes the dynamics of why those articles are missing. His boots, they're a size 15 boot. Anytime any shoes or tennis shoes get wet, you know how hard it is just to get a tennis shoe off, let alone a size 15 boot. So the belt is a big piece of the puzzle that we now have, and but once again raises more questions.
And when do you expect the results? You have ordered, the family has ordered a second autopsy to be performed. When do you expect to have results from that?
They were actually following up on that today and reached out. We were told, which we've not been given the information by the original autopsy, but we were told a family member can request the actual autopsy short of the toxicology that Metro Nashville provided. We were not aware of that information. So the family did reach out today, I think left messages to try to get that initial report also. So we're hoping within the next 24 hours to get more answers than we currently have.
Right.
But I also wish we would have been given that when it was done a week ago.
Yeah, that would have been helpful. Thanks so much for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your television.
So that changes things. So I'm reading some of your questions in chat, and the answer to your question, several of you, I did speak to Chris, the one that was just talking on the news article. He reached back out to me this morning, as a matter of fact, asked me a couple of questions regarding, like, you know, what videos and timestamps and that nature, and said that he would be passing it on to the family and they would follow up with it, and said thank you, and I sent condolences and said if you need any help with anything, let me know, blah blah blah, and I gave my phone number for follow-up if it was necessary. But I felt like compared to the clusterfuck that it was trying to report it to anybody in Nashville, that was a whole different experience. Like, he definitely seemed interested and definitely seemed sincere about following up, and overall just could tell that he cared. Like, you know, it was not anything like the, oh, transfer you to the cold case department and leave a voicemail and the voicemail's full, and what? Like, cold case? It's been like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. What are you, cold case? Oh, bizarre. Any hooters. And I don't know if Nick is here, but he will catch it on the replay. If not, I did reach out to Billy, and he said he was going to get in contact with me about featuring on his podcast sometime in the near future. So, to be continued, I guess, on that. Yes, yeah, it definitely seemed like um it was something that they were gonna follow up with, and that he would take a closer look at, and I believe he was interested in it and not kind of just blowed it off, because like I said, he did ask a couple of questions regarding the um where the video, where the video was like the angle of the building, which one, and timestamps and to that regard. So I just sent, my notes of my interpretation of it, because, like, I don't know that that's just basing that whoever posted the video says that the video started when it started, because, that's the only thing we have to go off of at this point. So, but considering it's the Justice Department, that doesn't mean that they can't, not tell the truth. One of the things I thought was strange was it being a security camera and not having date and time. But I mean, I understand it's possible. Very odd, but especially in this day and age, 2024. Like, but hey, maybe it's just outdated. Yeah, I sent it all over. Just the stuff that I felt like really, really passionate about. Because if he's willing to listen, I definitely don't want him to like go down a bunch of unnecessary rabbit holes. But I did find the comments that the homeless people made in JLR's video, the one about having a fistful of money, and then the one about dragging him from one encampment to the other, that just really struck me odd. So I made sure to make him aware of that, just because it was worded very matter of factly, like, just, I don't know, could just be a weird feeling, but I felt it was worth mentioning. And then I showed him where the JLR video, like, I pinged it on the map and sent it to him on the map, where I seen when JLR was searching, and I seen what looked like could be jeans, light colored jeans. And now knowing that Riley didn't have them on, kind of puts it in the realm of possibility that now, are they still there now? That's a whole nother conversation. But I showed him where I seen it in the video and where that location was at from the video on a map. And then he said if he had any more questions, or I think I even sent him the link to the video too. Yeah, I did. In the timestamps, that was the other thing for both videos. I also pointed out the news articles that I found about the organized crime ring, and then I started from there and went with the videos that I posted of the crosswalk where you see the guys in the white shirt kind of waiting back and, in my opinion, watching Riley, and then you can see them again right after on the Justice video, like two white shirts come running by, like right after, within 20 minutes after Riley's last seen on the body cam footage, which in itself shows that, okay, clearly they stayed behind him the whole time, because what are the odds of that those aren't, any Hoosers? I said that. And also the what it looks like someone being drugged back, and then that homeless guy saying dragging him, that's a very, very unique choice of words. Could have said anything, could have said, but he chose to say dragged, like being drugged. And after I've done convinced myself, that's what I see happening on that damn video. So I'm just like, we red flag, spidey senses, like, why? What? So weird that you would say that. Was he? Let me watch it again.
he had been given, period, as to what had happened to Riley.
Guys, thank you for being with us as this family mourns the death of Riley. I want to ask, so far we keep hearing that his death, quote, continues to appear accidental, but you know, I don't get it. I don't get it. Ben Powers is joining me, high-profile lawyer, joining us out of this jurisdiction at legalpowers.com. Ben, thank you for being with us. Why would they say it, quote, continues to appear accidental? When he accidentally threw his pants, his shoes, and his wallet and fell in the water? That doesn't make any sense. Why are they saying that?
So when it comes to the medical examiner making that type of determination, what they're looking for is clear signs of trauma. You know, a gunshot wound, a clear stab wound, something like that. And the medical examiner's determination of no signs of foul play or no signs of trauma consistent with foul play is a determination that's not static, it's fluid. So if new information is developed, new information comes forward, witnesses come forward with whatever they may know, that can definitely change the determination that the medical examiner makes. But right now, I don't put a whole lot of stock in the no foul play trauma determination, because someone pushing Riley in, throwing Riley in, punching Riley and tossing him in that way, or just pushing him down the embankment is going to look exactly identical to him falling in. It's indistinguishable the type of injuries you would have.
Ben Powers, I hate everything that you just said. And I'm going to tell you why. But I need backup. Joining me right now, high-profile death investigator, professor of forensics, Jacksonville State University, author of Blood Beneath My Feet on Amazon. What else can I say? Let's see. And star of a hit series, Body Bags, with Joe Scott Morgan. Joe Scott, now, I know you're used to getting in front of juries and giving a very lengthy explanation of COD, cause of death. I have one question, and it's a yes/no, Joe Scott. Yes or no? Okay? Here's the question. Isn't it true that death investigators and medical examiners take into account, before they reach their determination, not only the physical evidence that you get from the body, but extrinsic evidence as well, such as, I had an arson case, okay? Was it an accident? Did this wife really die in a fire? Well, I looked at extrinsic evidence, including the fact that her husband took all of his suits, all of his shoes, all of his ties to a dry cleaner, multiple dry cleaners in the area in the days before the fire, called the weather station, and I had him on tape, finding out if it would rain that day, the day of the fire, and also calling his insurance company to find out would they pay for furniture replacement. And then, bam, his mansion caught on fire and his wife died. That's extrinsic evidence, not to mention raiding his place of business and finding bags and bags, trash bags, black plastic trash bags, as I recall, full of things from the home, such as his own family photos, not her, but his family, his mom, his grandma, blah, blah, blah. That's extrinsic evidence. So my question to you is, isn't it true the medical examiner can take into account extrinsic evidence when determining whether there's been foul play? I can't believe it. He did it, Jackie. He actually said it in one word. I'm circling back. So Ben Powers, the extrinsic evidence I'm talking about would be the fact that he doesn't have on pants. How's that an accident?
No, and I agree. I think that the fact that he doesn't have on pants but still has on his boxers is definitely something of concern, because if they're trying to say that the river current took his pants off, you're telling me that something that's indiscriminate in tearing his pants from his body is delicate enough to leave his undergarments? That just doesn't make any sense. And then when you factor that in with the debit card found on the riverbank, it just continues to make so many irregularities. Eventually, you have to acknowledge this doesn't add up, the math doesn't match, because you got a debit card on the riverbank, pants are missing, but the boxers are still present. And especially you have to take into consideration the location that
Oh,
he went missing.
hey,
Was
hold
the
on.
homeless
Before I lose the
encampment.
thought, Ben Powers, I'm going to follow up with Joe Scott Morgan about the pants missing, but as you pointed out twice, and I'm glad you did because it sparked a thought, if the current had somehow dragged his pants off, why not the boxers too? If the current was that strong, I don't know that I've ever seen a drowning case where it literally pulled your clothes off. Hold on just one moment. I want to go to Dryden Quigley joining us, investigative reporter, WSMV4. But first, let's get some more knowledge before we reach a conclusion. Take a listen to more of the 911 call. What else do we learn about the discovery of Riley's body? Listen.
And you said you guys found a dead body?
Yes, ma'am, in the river. We don't know barges at this facility,
What does it
and
look
I was
like?
checking around my dock. It's definitely got a person, hair, black shirt, kind of like a white, muddy looking on the front. It's face down in the water.
Shirt?
Yes, ma'am.
It's a
Caucasian.
It looks like a male.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to hear more of that 911 call because I'm learning a lot of facts. Listen.
Is he completely submerged, or is he right on that, like the bed? Not the bed, but like is he partially in the water, partially out of the water?
No, he's fully submerged besides his back sticking out of the water. I actually had to move a log off of the head to confirm it was a body.
Okay. I have this call up, and I'm gonna get somebody out there. Okay.
No, all right. I'll meet them up top. I'm gonna make my way up from the river here in just a few minutes.
Okay. All right. I'll let you go.
All right. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
I'm very intrigued, and I want to know if everybody else has noticed this as well. Let me just throw it out to Joe Scott Morgan. This has nothing to do with the body, but you and I have listened to a lot of 911 calls, as I'm sure you have too, Ben Powers, in court. Why do the 911 dispatchers always like, what? Huh? It's a dead body. They're like not even worried. Does anybody notice that beside me? No? Yes? Anybody?
No, I mean, when you hear her responses, Nancy, you have to understand she's got other calls that have been coming in. All right. This is not separated from her. She has to survive in the environment that she in, and she has
Please.
to remain. No, I
Other
mean,
calls. Oh, there's a fire hydrant running on Main Street. Ooh, I see a car accident. They look like they've hurt their neck. Okay, you know
no,
what? That's what you've got for me. She's taking
no,
other
I've got
calls, so she
more.
can't
I've
really
got
get
more if you want to
invested.
hear it.
I
No,
do.
she's
In a
dealing with things
nutshell.
like domestic violence calls, those sorts of things, maybe armed robberies. We're talking about anything. Nashville's a big town, Nancy. And so she has to deal with a lot of things. She cannot have her voice going up and down and these sorts of things. She has to maintain calm during the midst of this.
Okay, you can call it calm. Some people might call it disinterested, but I'm going to go with what you said. Nashville is a big town. There's a lot of crime. So she is not my concern right now. Too, Dryden Quigley joining us, investigative reporter, WSMV4. Dryden, tell me, first of all, thank you for being with us. Tell me about the discovery of Riley's body because it's not adding up for me.
Yeah, I mean, it was the second call of a dead body we got that week. So at first, I think a lot of us were like, is it going to be him? Is it not going to be him? So when we got this call that they found a body in the river, a lot of us rushed out there, to see what was going on, if it would be identified as him, which it was, unfortunately.
Dryden Quigley, you raced to the scene when you heard about the 911 call. A, how did you hear about it? And B, what did you see or hear or sense when you arrived?
So I myself wasn't on the scene. We had sent another reporter there first, but I know that when he got there, there were a ton of police officers there. They weren't able to go exactly towards the water, but, they had a lot of officers. I think the feeling was that, it was going to be Riley this time.
Just want to reiterate how thankful we are for everyone and how much we appreciate everyone's support and love and prayers because we feel them. We have felt every one of them. Every single one. I just ask that you mamas out there hug your babies tight tonight, please. Please, for me, just hug your baby's tight tonight. And again, thank you. Thank you for sharing our story.
I don't know how Riley's mom, Michelle, even had the strength to stand up in front of microphones and speak to the public as articulately as she did, bringing home that he's been found.
Is he completely submerged, or is he right on that, like the bed? Not the bed, but like is he partially in the water, partially out of the water?
No, he's fully submerged besides his back sticking out of the water. I actually had to move a log off of the head to confirm it was a body.
Okay. I have this call up, and I'm gonna get somebody out there. Okay.
No, all right. I'll meet them up top. I'm gonna make my way up from the river here in just a few minutes.
Okay. All right. I'll let you go.
All right. Thank you.
Chris Dingman is with us, a very dear family friend and spokesperson for Riley Strain's family. They have a GoFundMe at Riley Strain. Chris, the details that we're hearing, that his head was lodged under a log, that his boots, wallet, pants missing, but especially hearing on the 911 call that his head was lodged under a log. Are those facts that the mom, Michelle, knows? Is she? It would break my heart to hear those facts. I don't know that she's ready to hear that.
We actually, as a collective group in Riley's War Room, kept a lot of stuff from Michelle, just because as you deal on a daily basis, and a lot of people on the panel today, it's a dark world out there and people like to do cruel things. So I am unaware at this moment. I don't think Michelle knew the graphic nature of how Riley was found. The War Room, the dads, the uncles, etc. Yes, we were quite aware of it. And the wild part is Ryan, Riley's dad, actually was at that location, and they pinged it that night at like 11 or 12 o'clock that night in the boat as a possible location to search with the dogs. I do know that.
To Karen Stark joining us now, high profile TV radio trauma expert and consultant at KarenStark.com. If you're looking for her, that's Karen with a C. Karen, the one you love. Find out about a traumatic about Keith. Oh, what was happening? It's overwhelming. I don't know how it wins. I don't know. Limbo.
For you. It's not the way it's
seen wearing, but his boot.
the beginning of some kind of process to make them be able to live with this. They're not having that right now.
The body of Riley Strain was found submerged under a log in the Cumberland River, 8 miles downriver from where he was last seen. Strain still had on the white and black shirt he was last seen wearing, but his boots, pants, and wallet were missing. Officials say it's not uncommon for clothing to come off drowning victims in the water. The initial autopsy report says no sign of foul play, but the family has ordered a second private autopsy, saying no water in his lungs raises questions about drowning. The claim that the coroner noted a lack of water in Strain's lungs has not been publicly confirmed.
Joining me in all-star panel, but first, I want.
Okay, guys, so a couple of things that I have written down. You have to pay attention to what people say, like the verbiage they use. And when he made that 911 call, he didn't say, oh, he was caught up underneath a log, or he was hooked to a log, or he was wedged under a log. He said there was a log on top of his head. I understand that's graphic and really, like, disclaimer. If you have a weak stomach, probably not the conversation for you. Maybe come back in 15 minutes or so. So he said he had to pick. Now this is while he's floating. Okay. He had to take the log off of his head. So the way that I picture that, and again, disclaimer, graphic content warning, how I would describe that would be the branch or whatever was what was ledged underneath his work barge, which is what got his attention to it in the first place. And as he was grabbing it to get it out, there was something, being weighted down at the other end. And when he started getting it uncaught from under the barge, I would imagine that's when what he described happened. Only could see his upper chest area or whatever, like, but the rest of him hadn't came all the way to the top yet. So had he not been moving the debris around or whatever he was doing specifically with the barge, who's to say when he would have surfaced? Let's keep in mind the body that was found on the 17th, which St. Patrick's Day, same day the debit card was found. Literally, like, within half of a mile from where the debit card was found. The other body was found. Still don't know who that person is. They're still unidentified, but they haven't been identified. But the Metro Police can tell you that it was unequivocally no foul play suspected. What? Like, you don't even know who he is, but you know that he didn't succumb to foul play. Now that's just dumb to even say. Like, and that brings me to my next thing, because it's not like he was hung on clothing. His shirt, he wasn't hooked onto this tree branch. It was on top. Now, keep in mind, with a moving current, how does that happen? It almost makes you wonder if that could be why there's no water under his lungs. Not under his lungs, in his lungs. Maybe he was never capable of taking a breath from the time he was put in the water. Allegedly. Possibly. Speculating. Whatever. But that just doesn't seem natural, if you know what I mean. And not saying that drowning is natural, but it just doesn't seem like that many things are coincidentally just so happen to happen in this case when they've never happened in any other drowning case in that river or any other river. But I'm supposed to just believe all these 1 in a million coincidences just so happen to be happening at this one time. And I don't really believe in coincidences. So let's listen to a little bit more of this.
I'm going to go to Joe Scott Morgan.
That other things that they have released this information so prematurely when they don't have a complete investigation done at this point in time. I'm still waiting.
I'm trying to decipher everything you said. Dry drowning. And you said that you, Joe Scott Morgan, have encountered dry drowning about 12 times. Isn't that what you said?
That's correct.
Do you think it's 12 or could it have been less?
No, I'd say it's probably around 12, yeah.
Around 12. Okay. And Joe Scott Morgan, how many death investigations have you conducted?
I don't know, Nancy, probably upwards of, 4,000, I would imagine.
So 4,000. Around, just like around 12. Now it's around 4,000. So out of 4,000 death investigations, you've had around 12 dry drownings. Is that correct?
Correct.
And in those cases, did you say that often you found a neurological compromise, plain language, regular people talk, blow to the head?
It does occur, yes.
Did it occur in those 12?
To the best of my recollection, every single time they were compromised in some way, either from a head strike or from being inebriated.
Hold on, guys. Hold on. Ooh, what did he say there? Oh, so even if it was this everything, everybody's buzzing about, oh, he could have dry drowned, he could have dry drowned. However, what does that mean if he dry drowned? That means he had some kind of head trauma or he was bopped in the head. This professional on panel says out of the 4,000 investigations he's conducted, that only 12 cases in his entire career has he ever found the cause of death to be dry drowning. And in all 12 of those cases, they were compromised by either a blow to the head or some kind of neurological brain episode. Y'all want to listen to it again?
To the best of my
Regular people talk, blow to the head.
it does occur, yes.
Did it occur in those 12?
To the best of my recollection, every single time they were compromised in some way, either from a head strike or from being inebriated.
Somebody I know is going into cross-examination mode, and that would be you. Because when somebody throws out to the best of my recollection, that means I may be right or I may be wrong, but I'm going to CYA. You're telling me out of 4,000 cases, you've had about 12 dry drownings. And in those 12 dry drownings, they had, as you say, neurological compromise, i.e. blow to the head. Yes, no.
Yes.
Okay, got it. So in this case, since we don't know about a blow to the head, that differentiates itself from all of your dry drownings. Okay, now that we have ferreted that out, Joe Scott, please just tell me what you think in regular people talk. No neurological compromise, no blow to the head, extrinsic evidence. He doesn't have his pants on. Boots would have just dragged him down to the bottom. His debit card is up near that homeless camp.
I don't understand.
His
I
wallet's
don't
gone.
understand what dragging him down to the bottom has to do with the condition in which his body was found and where he was found. It is possible for boots to come off. I have a real problem with pants coming off, though. I also don't know if his pants were belted as well. That has not been addressed at all. And here's another thing. Those clothes would have had to have come off early on, Nancy, because as the body is in the Cumberland for this protracted period of time, I think we're looking at a 2-week period. Forgive me for saying this, but the body will become bloated during that particular bit of time. That means that with the bloating comes tension. And so the body begins to swell. So the probability of the pants coming off as he's been in there for a protracted period of time would not have happened at the end or prior to the discovery. It would have had to have happened prior to. All right. So I think that that's something else that needs to be factored in as well.
Okay, that is the Joe Scott Morgan you're hearing right there. That is the renowned professor at Jacksonville State University and the author of Blood Beneath My Feet and the star of Body Bags with Joe Scott Morgan. Everything you just said is brilliant. I didn't even take notes because I wanted to drink it in what you just said. The one thing I did manage to write down 2 words. I didn't want to miss anything. And what you just said is critical. Were those pants belted?
And you said you guys found a dead body?
Yes, ma'am, in the river. We don't know barges at this facility,
What does it
and
look
I was
like?
checking around my dock. It's definitely got a person, hair, black shirt, kind of like a white, muddy looking on the front. It's face down in the water.
Shirt?
Yes, ma'am.
It's a
Caucasian.
It looks like a male.
Yes, ma'am.
The suggestion that this young man died of a dry drowning doesn't make any sense compared with the extrinsic evidence that we have learned. To Dryden Quigley joining us, WSMV4 there in Tennessee, explain to me where the body was found in relation to all the other points of interest, specifically that homeless encampment.
Yeah, so that's right where he went into the water. So you're walking along this kind of the road on your right side is going to be this steep slope into the river. There's no way that he was walking down towards that river. But there are some homeless camps, you know, kind of perched along it, but it's very wooded down there. So if he would have had to fall or, yes, been pushed over kind of the edge into that water. And then his body was found a few miles down the river from where he supposedly went in, or where he was last seen on camera.
Chris Dingman joining us, the family spokesperson and very dear friend of Riley's family. Chris, what does all of this mean to you and the family?
It's once again, we have way more questions than answers. And to answer one of the panelists, I did confer with the family last night. Much like my son is the same height as Riley, and you've seen the pictures of him. The boys wear belts because they have swimmers' bodies in essence. And yeah, there's very, very, very good chance Riley did have a belt on that evening. Where the location it went in, I'll be honest with you, I'm a very avid outdoors guy, and it's extreme terrain at the homeless camp area, let alone the sheer drop-off area where the credit card was found, the debit card. More confusing questions from the police officer's body cam. If you timestamp it to where the detention center picks back up, where Riley is no longer seen in any videos, there's numerous people on little scooters. They're also walking. That's in that time era that, you know, somebody, it wasn't like it was a, you know, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Wait a second. Oh, my Lanta. No way.
Is no longer seen in any videos. There's numerous people on little scooters, let alone the sheer drop-off area where the credit card was found, the debit card. More confusing questions from the police officer's body cam. If you timestamp it to where the detention center picks back up, where Riley is no longer seen in any videos, there's numerous people on little scooters. They're also walking. That's in that time era that, you know, somebody, it wasn't like it was a, you know, 3 o'clock in the morning, everybody went home. There are people, cars driving by. We even had one of the gentlemen say that I saw 2 Teslas setting in the police cam footage for the body cam. You know, they run video 24/7. I still personally think that somebody knows something, you know, whether it was a homeless person, a person visiting from out of town, who. I think there was too many people that was in that area for it just to go unnoticed. That's my personal opinion.
Agree. Joe Scott Morgan, why was it so significant to you to find out whether Riley was wearing a belt? And now that we believe we have the answer from Chris Dingman that he was, what, if anything, does that mean to you, Joe Scott?
It means, Nancy, that it would be much more, it's more plausible, I think, or potential. The potential exists, as Dr. Bass has said, I think previously, that the pants may have come off, they could, but if they were belted, it would be a much tougher hill to climb, that the water would just simply pull them off. Because as was mentioned, this young gentleman is tall and slender. Those pants are not going to stay up. He has to have them belted. And again, when you combine all of these things, I worked a lot of cases, Nancy, where people's shoes do in fact come off in the water. The current generally facilitates that. But when you have pants that come off, that's a completely different animal at that point in time. That's what, you know, leaves me with more questions than answers here.
Dry drowning is also known as laryngospasm. Off lungs being full of water.
You can drown without the water present in your lungs, because if you'll just think about, which we cover a lot of these cases, Nancy, asphyxial deaths, you're essentially depriving your brain of oxygen. And so that's going to be compromised. If he has any substances on board, that's also going to be another compromising position. But as I'd mentioned just a moment ago, and I think that this is important for them to explore, he would still take on enough water if it could get into the peripheral system. That means out into his organs, into his bloodstream, and even in, yes, to his bone marrow, where you're searching for diatoms. We take samples of these of these areas of the body, and you do an acid, what's referred to as an acid test on these areas, and you look for these little creatures that only exist in waterborne environments, and they kind of spread out. We do this in drowning cases with great frequency, and so I'd be curious if they took the time to do that, and that's only something that happens in the antemortem state, Nancy. That means it doesn't happen postmortem. You have to take these on, and they have to be shunted off into the peripheral system at that point in time. So I'm still waiting on that, just like we're waiting on toxicology.
Chris Dingman, you inferred that people have been embedded into the homeless community to get information. Did they get any information?
We've got a lot of information that we're still processing through. Unfortunately, when all this went down and due to the media impact in that area, the homeless scattered. 90% of them do not want to be in the limelight or talk to people, etc. We do have personally, I don't think Metro Nashville is following up on it, but we do have personally some people that we are still trying to track down at other camps just for information. If this truly was an accident, Michelle has her son home, and they're going to get to have a proper burial, which was big for me on the side of the family. I did not want to have to bring Michelle home without her son, good or bad. But Michelle does have that. But now we're able to actually dig into some of the stuff that we have questions on. The priority was getting Michelle, her son, and Ryan and Chris to get them home back in a controlled environment with loved friends and family and everybody. But now the dad's in the war room. We need some answers. We've got questions, just like on the panel today. We've given each other information, and we thought we had an angle, and all of a sudden now we have 100 more angles. But no, there's people of interest that we personally are trying to reach out to, not because we think there was malcontent in it, but somebody knows something. There's just too many people in that area. One of the theories was that maybe Riley had went around the corner, tried to relieve himself. The young lady from Nashville doing the reporting with us in the group, she can verify that terrain is extreme terrain right there. And Riley, of all my boys, even though he's not mine, all my boys, he was the modest one. He was not a go out in public kind of guy like we were raised on the country. So that was nothing that ever crossed my mind. And also, one more question. Everybody's talking about the boots. I have to let everybody know those are a size 15. And if you've ever had wet boots on or wet shoes, they're extremely tough to get off. That young man had a size 15 boot on. So a lot of questions. We're trying to get answers. Unfortunately, we can do that at this moment because Riley is home. But we need the help. We need the help of the public. That seems to be where we've gotten our answers as a family. And I think there's still more answers out there.
A dry drowning, no water in his lungs with no blow to the head. When does that ever happen? Practically never. What happened to Riley Strain? To you, Ben Powers, high-profile lawyer in that jurisdiction, weigh in.
So for me, the thing that stands out is the commonality of the things they're missing: the boots, the pants, and the debit card that's discarded. Those are all things that are valuable to the encampment where he went missing. The debit card may have been discarded because you have to go use it, and to use it, you have to go be on camera using it. And so it's too much risk potentially. It doesn't have intrinsic value like the pants and the boots that are missing. I think that, in combination with all the other evidence we've discussed, certainly raises a lot of questions that we don't have answers to today.
You're right, Ben Powers. Those boots have not been found, and I'd like to know whether anybody's wearing those boots as we're talking right now. To Karen Stark, psychologist. Karen?
I'll tell you, Nancy, they will never get over this. You know that. She's talking about holding babies close. But the more answers that they have, the better it is for the family, despite the grief.
If you know or think you know anything regarding the death of this son, this beloved son, Riley Strain, please dial 615-862-8600. But right now, let's pause to remember American hero Officer Jonah Hernandez, just 35 years old, Las Cruces, New Mexico. Loved helping those in need. Lifelong dream of becoming an officer. Leaves behind wife Yesenia and two beautiful young sons. Jonah Hernandez, American hero. I'll see you tomorrow night, 6 and 9 p.m. sharp Eastern. And until then, good night, friend.
So what do you guys think? Does that change things for you? I mean, it doesn't change anything for me. If anything, it just intensifies what I already believe because I haven't felt differently from the moment that I heard he was missing. I was like, something just feels sketch. Okay, so let's I would recommend turning up your brightness all the way on whether you're on your phone or your computer. It helps. Not much, but it does help. So right now we're looking at the video starting at about 9:52, and the reason I start right here is because Riley was on the body cam footage about 9. Yeah, I did. My brightness is all the way up. I can't turn yours up. Dorks. Okay, look at there. Now look at this. This is at 52. So I can't zoom in on this. Okay, you still see him? He's about right here now. And now they're about to go under this light. And still going. Okay, now we're at 53. That's a cop. There's headlights coming from this way because you can see them in the trees. See? Mm-hmm. Cop. Cop. They both turn this way. You see their brake lights go by, both of them. And now we're still at 54, so 9:54. Silver Mustang looking type car. Hits brakes. Turning. Same thing with blue car. This is all within a matter of a minute. So then slow down, regular speed as far as the time. Now we're at 55. Headlights coming from this way. They turn this way. Very slowly. No, they're not. They were going to turn and now they've came back and now they're back on. So move back on. Car coming from this way. Still 55-minute mark. So 9:55. 2 identical SUVs, so probably undercovers more than likely because this is a Justice Department. However, I do not know that. It's just an assumption, just to be clear. $56. $57. Now we're at 58. Car coming from this way. And this way. Another car coming from this way. Another car coming from this way. Okay. Now we have about 9:59. So pretty much 10 o'clock. Okay, what do we have going on here? Someone walking, stops, turns, looks back. Now there's someone else walking that's wearing dark clothing. You can kind of see the silhouette. Now they're both walking. One's a little bit ahead of the other. One has got their phone light in their hand. That's about right here. They go to the wall and they are looking over. It looks like they're shining their phone light. Either they've heard something or something's drawn their attention, or they're checking something, but they're literally shining the light looking over this wall right here. See him right here? Watch right here from this point on. Pay attention to the light, like the purplish, bluish looking light. That's his phone light. Right about now. Now he's standing up here waiting, and he's over here looking, peeking over the wall, looking, shining with his phone light. Now he's done looking, and he's walking back to where this guy's at, and then they're gonna start walking again on this direction. Now look, this is what Chris was talking about. The scooters right after that, and then so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 scooters. Now we're about 10 o'clock. 10:01. Another car. Our truck. 10:01 still. 10:02. We got another car coming from that way. 10:02. Vehicle coming from this way. Lots of traffic. 10:03. More traffic. Okay, now we got about 10:03 and a half. Here comes some silhouettes. Looks to be about 3. You don't see them until they get under the light because they're wearing darker clothing, but they appear to be moving pretty fast, almost borderline running. And this is 10:03 p.m. See, they're still going. They're about right here right now. Ten, 11. 1 second. So 10:10. Now we got a car coming from this way. And this way. The one coming from this way just so happens to be another cop. Okay, now we're about 10, 14, 10. Yeah, 10, 14. And 2 more people come riding by on scooters. 1, 2. Okay, now we're at about 10, 15. So about a minute later. 1 more scooter. 2 more scooters. Okay, this is interesting. This is at 10:17. About 10:18. And watch what happens. Boop. Somebody pulls in. Orange shirt. Weird colored, like the front's different color than the back. I mean, it is all kind of chop shop. That, like, no offense, but what in the hell? And they're making a point to not want to be seen by the camera. Look, in my opinion. And somebody in the passenger seat. Okay, now we have about 10, 9, 18. Somebody on a scooter. Somebody else on a scooter. So in a matter of 3 minutes, we've had 10 people on scooters go by. Cars, there's a taxi. Okay, what do we got here? Hold up. All right, so now it's about 10:20. That purple light over there looks like a scooter coming from the other direction, moving this way. By the look of the lights right there, it looks like it's following the sidewalk because it goes back around this way where the abandoned building is, and it goes up, and it goes around that parking lot. But look at here, security officers, sheriff. What? So this is not the same ones that we see after that incident. This is before. This was at 10:20. I didn't see this the first time. I didn't catch this until the other day. And they clearly go getting off work or whatever. I don't know if they go in this door and they don't come back out. So two more scooters going this way. Now we're at 10:22 p.m. There's one, there's two. Taxi coming back the other way. Okay, now we're at 10:25. See shadows right here, dark. I see at least two. And also, there's shadows coming from the other way. Now we're at about 128. So 128 would be 10:28. Sorry. 29, 30. 35. 39. 41. 45. 140 or 10:48. Okay, now 10:51. We got one scooter, two scooters, three scooters, four scooters. But there's also somebody walking right here. I see two, maybe three. Now look at here. More walking. 1, 2, 3. And this is at 10:51. White hoodie. $55. Okay. Now we are at 10:55. It's going to come from this side over here. Here comes a figure seeming to be followed by another and then another. First two are wearing darker clothing, and the last one has definitely got a white hoodie or long sleeve of some sort. Definitely seems like they are running, jogging, moving fast. That's why they look like silhouettes. They're about right here right now. And this is 10:55. Now look. Now we're at 10:56. Look, what do we have here? Boom, boom. White hoodies and the glowing shoes. That's the same ones from the crosswalk. There's no way it's not. Now here comes another one. About a minute behind them, maybe 45 seconds, and look what they're wearing. See them? '58, '59. Now we're at 11 o'clock. 11:01. 11:02. Okay, back up. Now we're gonna let it play from here. This is about 11:02 p.m. Watch from down here. Right about here. What do you guys see? I slowed it down. Almost like he's dragging something, you know? Like that homeless guy said, like almost like he was dragged up out of here. Weird choice of words, right? Okay, now about a minute and a half later, look what comes surfacing. Hello. Matching shirts, matching shoes. Here goes the guy that was in the front because you could see his white socks, his knee socks. And he's getting it. Like he's putting some distance between him and the area. Like he's moving pretty fast. Way faster than they were walking there just a minute and a half ago. Yes, Bia. And right here on the other side of this wall, where they seemingly seem to keep stopping at and looking over, at several points in this video is where and JLR was down there and I thought that I seen what could look like could be jeans, light colored jeans. Like this is down here where the abandoned building is and it goes down the slide and then there's all the freaking it gets super weird and sketch. But yeah, that's what where that wall looks over. Okay, now we're about 11:06 and we're going to see a scooter coming from the other direction right about now. And now look, walking back this way. White top. Now what are they doing? Oh, you know, nothing. They're just gonna go take a look and peek over the wall. Oh, that's exactly what they're gonna do. Screw, they're gonna walk right over here and they are going to peek and just watch over the wall. They sit here. There's two of them. One of them's in darker because you can't see him, but for sure, he's right now. He's got his elbows like on the wall and he's kind of bent down, slouching over, but he's looking over the wall and remains to do so for several minutes. And it is 11:07 p.m. Still there. Still peeking over the wall. Standing up more straight now. Still looking over the wall. We're at 11:08. The speed is normal. Now we're 11:09. Now you see there's two of them. You kind of see it whenever that car lights it up, but not very well. But still, you still see they're over the wall. Or looking over the wall. $11:09. Still looking over the wall. 11:10. Still looking over. Now look, they take off and take off walking, but look what's happening over here and why they do, in my opinion. Look at the lights. Oh, what do we have here? Cops. Of course they're gonna act like they're not looking at anything. They're gonna play it cool, play it cool. But they didn't walk off. They're still right here, right up underneath this light. But they put some distance between them and the wall. Now they're walking this way. It's 11:11. Now it's 11:12. And look what we have here. White hoodie, long sleeve shirt, somebody wearing darker clothing next to him. And look from this way. What in the hellfire shit damn is this? We got two groups coming, one from one way, one from the other. And nobody's seen anything? Nah. That's actually three people. Now here comes one with a headlamp on, actually two. Both in white shirts. One seems to be black and white striped, but the other one white, no less. They are turning around looking back behind them, looking at the other group, but they don't stop moving. Now look behind them. Here comes number 3. I mean, how many white shirts? It's almost like, oh yeah, you know, like the gang, if you all dress the same, it's harder to be picked up in a lineup, you know, that type deal. It's the vibe I'm getting. Because the ones in the crosswalk, they're dressed identical. The only thing that just makes them different is what they have on their heads, and their shoes are different. Like one of them had like black laces, and the other one had like super reflective laces. That's the only difference. They were dressed identical. And now here comes two more, and one of them's got a white hoodie or something tied around their waist. That's what that looks like. And the other one's got a headlamp on it. And we're at 11:14. Eleven 16. 11:19. Okay, now about 11:19, 11:20ish, it starts to rain. You'll see the water or the raindrops hit the camera lens. See, starting right here. That's raindrops. 11:20. Rain is starting to pick up. 11:24. $11:25, and you can see it's raining pretty good. The water, it's pretty steady. Light rain as of 11:25. Weird Chester the Melissa looking van. I'm just saying. Um, I don't think he's out servicing any light poles or anything. I mean, I don't even know. That definitely, it didn't have any county or whatever. It was just pure white, like a hey, you want a piece of candy is what it comes off to me. But what do I know? So we're about 11:26. Raining. Everybody's about cleared off walking. Couple of vehicles still making their way. That's kind of weird. Stops in the middle of the road. Oh, what do we have here? No way. The same Chester the molester. No. Stop it. Don't. Okay, and that's pretty, I mean, I guess. Car losing its bumper. Pretty identifiable. Stands out. Just saying. Sticks out like a sore thumb. But it's almost like they're looking for their little motley crew, to jump in and head back to wherever the hell they came from. White shirts, white van, whatever. I mean, and now look, something's flashing yellow. See it on the sign right here? It's reflecting off of something. Like a caution light or it's a little bit too fast to be a blinker, so it's got to be like a caution light or something. But you don't see it anywhere else. Like it's just on this sign right here. And we're at 11:27. Keep watching the reflection in the sign. Now we're at about 11:28. Now look at the reflection again. 11:29.
There are no signs of foul play at the.
And then it just cuts off abruptly.
an empty land. I walked across